Hey, Andre, with Dalvin Tomlinson and Michael Pierce in the mix here and getting their first practices together, what have your impressions been of them, and what can you take away from these non-padded practices with those guys?
Um, they've done a nice job. You know, they're pros. They work hard. They got very good football IQ. They're both big and strong. I think the one thing that's been surprising is how, Sutton and how quick their feet are, for big men. So it's been a really good process for me to be able to see them and actually get my hands on them. What we've been doing, I've been able to get a lot out of it as far as the run game is concerned and us being able to fit blocks correctly and being in the right position. So the only thing that we're not getting is the full speed pass rush out of it. But I've been very pleased with those two men.
Ben Gessling?
Andre, what's your communication been like with Danielle Hunter, and do you expect him to come in for minicamp next week?
Ben, I will keep that between me and D, and that's all I'm going to say on that.
Eric Smith?
Hey Dre, you got a promotion this offseason with a elevated title. Do you have any added responsibility based on that title? And then the second part is, are you and Adam going to have a pretty similar relationship on the coach-wise, being co-DCs like you did last year?
Yeah, nothing's changed as far as the roles between Adam and I, and yeah, I have added responsibility as far as working with things with Zim, as far as the overall big picture with the team, and making decisions what we want to do with the schedule, and those kind of things. So I'm trying to help him out and take some of the duties off of him.
Andrew Kramer?
With the defensive ends that are here, what can those reps do for some of these young guys, and what have your impressions been of some of the newcomers so far?
It's been great. Matter of fact, we were just talking about that today. A year ago, the rookie class coming in, didn't get a chance to experience all the things that these guys are experiencing right now. To go through all the technique work, the fine things that happen through the course of the game. Different formations, different alignments make you loosen up and or tighten down your alignment. Working the situations. All those guys had to learn those things so fast last year because they only got training camp. So I think it's been a great learning experience for not just the rookies coming in, but also the new guys that we've added to our defense. I'm really pleased with the way that Pat and Janarius are working. They're getting better every day. They're both smart players. They're both long and athletic, like I thought they were coming in. And so they're getting better every week. And I just think these reps that they're getting are very valuable to them. So when they come back for camp, they have a great understanding of what we're trying to do.
Dave Campbell?
Hey, Andre. Mike talked earlier this offseason about feeling rejuvenated by some of the new players on defense and sort of excited about the challenge to try to make some strategic tweaks to the scheme to keep up with the league. I guess, how do you feel about all that? Having kind of had about the same amount of experience in the league and in this defense as him.
It's really been a lot of fun. As a defensive staff, we did a lot of work on, studying different fronts, different coverages around the league, and even in college football that people are doing to try to handle, what offenses are doing today. And it reminded me back, when Zim and I were in Dallas. I think it was after the 2000 season, and we had been running the same defense forever, and we got together and studied and came up with the scheme that we use now. And it was an off season. It was an off season that was a lot of learning, a lot of us growing as coaches. And I felt that that's what happened this off season. That We spent a lot of time studying and working and evaluating different fronts and different coverages that you can use in different situations. And I think we got better as a coaching staff, and I think that we came up with some things that I think are going to help our players. So really, it was kind of fun, at my age and years in the league to go back and do that again. It kind of reminded us back in our college days. So it was a great offseason.
Lindsey Young.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. I'm just curious with guys like Stephen Weatherly or McKenzie, or I know that you've gone through this with Shamar in the past. Like when you have guys who are with your team and then leave somewhere else for a season and then come back, is that, a benefit where they go and pick up, new things in their arsenal and come back? Is it something where you kind of have to like re-coach back in your own system? Just what is that like for you guys as coaches?
Lindsey, it's kind of funny, in one respect, when they come back, they're so appreciative to be back here, and they're even more hungrier. And I think they are become more humble because they have a greater appreciation of what they had here. If this is the only place you've been, you really don't know how good it is until you leave and come back. And I've seen that big time in Stephen. I've seen that big time in McKenzie. They're just happy to be back and they're hungry. And as far as football is concerned, it's just getting them back in the groove again. And, I always start from day one, like they don't know how to get in the stands or how to come out of a stand. So every year I do the exact same thing. So it's not like, Stephen was behind the 8 ball because he was gone for a year. So all those guys learn how to get in the stands, how to come out of stands, what to do with our hands. So it's like football 101. And so that's how I start every year. So, but it's been great to have Stephen back, and I'm really enjoying having him out at practice.
Ben Gessling.
Andre, when you go through that process of reevaluating the defense and studying all sorts of different things, like you mentioned, and you've run a scheme that's worked for you guys as long as it has, what is that process like then of whittling it down and figuring out what you want to install in the scheme and what's kind of a, hey, this was interesting to look at, but it's not going to work for us? What's the next step on that from here?
Well, I think the biggest thing, Ben, is that's why it's been great that we've had these practices, because now we've been able to put it on film, and it's not just the theory of the board, if you understand what I'm saying, right? You put it up on the board and the X's and O's and it looks great, but then when you get out there on the field and it doesn't match your guys and the talent that you have, it's not a good thing for you to do. So the one thing that's been great is that we've been able to develop a library, and pull all these different things out that we want to look at and put it into a cut up, and then now we'll go back and restudy it again and say, hey, this is good for us, this is not good for us. And if we didn't have these OTA practices, we wouldn't be able to do that. And so I think that's exciting for us too. And we've been doing that throughout the process, is that, okay, let's watch all these different fronts. Let's watch all these different coverages and see how it marries together with our players.
Any other questions for Coach Patterson? Go to Eric Smith.
Hey, Dre, how much of a difference can you tell between this year and last year? Not really in terms of getting on the field, but in regard to your cornerbacks, this year with Pat Pete and Breland and Mac, they have a good amount of experience. And a year ago, it was mostly a bunch of rookies. How much of a difference can you tell just in terms of experience? And them, obviously it's different because they're on the field now, but just in terms of the amount of experience they have.
Well, I think there's two things that are a big difference. Obviously, the easy one for everybody to notice is that you got guys out there that have played in NFL games. So they have experience. They're not going through it for the first time like we did a year ago. But I think the other thing that's very important is you have a lot of competition, okay? And competition makes everyone better, okay? Competition makes everybody compete. and makes everybody strive to improve because they're all fighting for a job. And to me, what we have going on right now in the secondary and what we have going on right now in the defensive line is great competition. And that's going to cause everyone to improve. That's going to cause everyone to see who's getting better, and the cream is going to rise to the top. You know, so to me, that's how you get better, when you have a lot of competition. And so to me, those are the things that I'm most pleased about.
And we'll wrap with one final question from Ben Gessler.
Yeah, Andre, just one more on this, some of the scheme change stuff that I think is pretty interesting. As you guys were going through the scouting process this year, did you go as far back to say, let's find guys that can do some of these different things, or is it more of a go in after you know what your personnel is going to be and start to do the studying at that point?
Well, no, you know, at the draft, you know, I'm still looking at the guys that fit the parameters that I like my defensive linemen to have. You know what I mean? So the things that I look for in the draft, in my DNs and my D tackles, I was still looking for that. So it didn't change that all of a sudden I became a scheme-based evaluator. I will never do that. Okay, it's going to always be, okay, these are the qualities that a defensive end has to have, in my opinion, to be successful in this league. Okay, these are the qualities that a defensive tackle has to have to be successful in this league. So I'm never going to become a scheme fit type evaluator, because I think that gives you a bigger chance to make a mistake. And then if you get the guys that have the athletic qualities to fit to play, then they're going to fit within the scheme that you want to run. So it didn't change how we evaluated players at all.